27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And there isn't one of us that doesn't want to be someplace else. This is what we do. Who we are.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
Boom! And happy Monday to all you Patriots and Anons and those alike. Welcome to Rambo and Frens edition. What is this? Episode 18, right? We did 17 with Enoch. I highly suggest going back and checking that out. If you're new to the show, Enoch's a beast. And there's been a bunch of shows before that. Carly Bonet was absolutely an honor to hang out with. And just for the sake of allowing people to pile in, tomorrow will be JF on and Smart Paul. Wednesday is going to be Grasshopper for the first time ever on Rambo and Frens. I'm super excited about that as we connected here on Twitter. I'm actually really stoked about that. Dude's like really cool. And then on Thursday, who's coming on Thursday? Oh, shoot. I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, Defender of the Republic. Kaidi's going to be here. It's going to be awesome. So let me give a quick intro for the dude that's coming on now. I always come on and I tell everybody how amazing everybody is, how brilliant they are, how legendary they are. I do it for everybody because I am, a half his glass full type of dude. I see the positive. That's the truth. So the really positive traits I see in our guest today, to be honest with you, is he's probably the most stand-up dude in the movement as far as I'm concerned. This guy has an air about him that makes you feel like you're his best friend when you hang out with him. And I know it's not just me. He makes everyone feel that way. And I hope he takes that as a huge compliment because it is. With that being said,
a chance to talk to my friends. These are my friends.
You're killing me over here. You know that, right?
Oh, bro, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning. I just woke up. This is all off. I didn't set my alarm. I'm just exhausted from the last weekend.
Do you know? Go
Huh?
ahead. No, go ahead.
No, and if anybody out there uses CPAP, I made it away for the weekend and I didn't have the seal. So I had to go 3 days old school sleeping, which means I haven't had an oxygenated brain in 4 days. So I was just exhausted. And I hit the crash last night, and hours later I wake up and I have like 15, 20 minutes to get ready. I'm like, oh my gosh, just in time to wake up and do your show. So here we are. Nothing planned. We're just going to wing it.
Do you know that I started doing noon a while back, and honestly, I moved it to 1 p.m. and because I kind of wanted to keep it structured. But my original reason for moving to 1 p.m. Eastern was because you sleep, because you're in the past.
That's funny. Yeah, and guys out there, if anybody needs to think of a gift to get Joe, it would be a time zone chart that would help him do that. I used to do this all the time where I'd set meetings up back in the day and I'd go the wrong direction in hours, right? And you have people coming in from all over the world, maybe, or Europe, and just throw a monkey wrench into everything. You think it's pretty easy, right? But some of us are more Neanderthals than other.
Dude, it happens
And
all the time. Look, Grasshopper's coming on Thursday. He's like 9 hours difference, right? When we did the show with shoot, Burn Notice. Burn Notice is literally he's in the other side of the planet.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always say, dude, he's in the future, right? Why aren't we getting stock tips and things? It's like tomorrow every time we talk to him. I don't know. I'm getting the short end of the stick here.
Yeah. Well, bro, there's a ton of people piling in. This means the world to me, and I meant it. I don't know if you realize it, but everybody I talk to feels the same way that I do.
Dude, I know. Joe. I'm sending him a check here shortly. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the praise. I do, but the truth of the matter is, and you know this, is that all of us and all of our friendships that have risen from this, and all the the good, the bad, and the ugly. You see what I did there? See what I did? You gotta do the little whistly thing. Anyway, but it's all been genuine, and there's been there's been growing pains with that. We've all learned because we're naive in a lot of ways, right? We volunteered for this before we knew we were volunteering for something, and then who the heck thought we'd be doing this for, in your case, going on plus years? I don't even know what happened. Better part of a decade. Sure, why not? Let's just throw it in there.
Dude,
I can't imagine doing anything else, though. Can you?
You're approaching 250,000 of following friends, dude.
Yeah. Well, overall, I was counting it up. It's probably more. It's well north of 1 million over time. You're losing different accounts. There's even I gave up on Gab. I just don't have time. It's nothing personal against Gab. It's nothing personal against Parlor or God, how many others have there been, right? There's just not enough time. I get some help with Truth and Telegram, but it's basically all I can do just to keep up, right? And by the way, so everyone knows, let me give you the entire process of how I go about figuring out what content to do. I look at the screen, and whatever pops in my mind next is what I post, and then I rinse and repeat that ad nauseum. No,
Yep.
I think one of the things is I just happen to be in a place where I don't, I've had plenty of jobs that I've hated in my life, and things that took up all my time. The way that the Great Awakening has kind of come together in my life personally has been at a point where, due to other circumstances and stuff, I just have way too much time to donate to this cause. Because if I had to do 80 hours a week, probably is what we do. I don't know, it's just crazy, but I can do it. And quite honestly, if I had more time to give, I'd give more, because it doesn't. I don't know if you feel like it just feels it's not like it's like a duty, right? Like I often talk about, I'm only here for my progeny, right? My offspring, my descendants, and those people around me. But we've all been screwed our whole lives, so. What aren't you willing to give of yourself to do all this, right? If not us, who, right? That'll say, and if not now, when? We're here. You are here. Might as well make the best of it.
Bro, I've talked about this many times, but I don't have time. I legitimately don't have the time to do this.
You actually have a full-time job.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I hope my boss isn't watching. So I have a priorities list, and the family is at the top of the list, as I think it should be. Right? My son, which just so everybody's aware, there may not be any shows next week because my mom's criminal. The demon that birthed me's criminal trial is next week. So we can all rise above, right?
It doesn't matter our circumstance. We can all be a better person as a result of what happens to us.
Yeah.
And Joe, just so you know, and the audience probably knows somewhat, but I am so proud of you and the work you've done on your own life and your own self to turn everything around and use all the bruises and broken bones that life and yourself have delivered unto you, and came out the other side to where, just the stance you're taking with your son and the amount of energy that you put into writing that ship is just, it's inspiring, bro. Truly.
So I have to say this: the reason that means so much coming from you is because I know your story too.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
I think we all share. Overall, I mean, as you talk to people. By the way, you said Wednesday is Smart Paul and JF and on.
Tomorrow is JF
Oh,
and on
tomorrow,
tomorrow.
yeah. Those guys, by the way, those guys blow my mind. My brain hurts when I listen to them, but I love those guys too. But we all have like these similar bits and pieces of our stories that come together, right? And none of us realized how bad we all had it. We didn't know how screwed we'd been our whole lives, and that's not us, our parents, their parents. I mean, we've woken up and come to understand that we live in the crappiest real world matrix imaginable. And it's just been it's such a journey, and that's why like what are you willing not to do? I mean, what can't we um, deal with at this point, right? I mean, just keep it coming. Because none of us are giving up, right? I mean, I don't even know how to spell that. GIV, yeah. Uh, and we've made friends, but I think something that's come to me a lot. I really if I can just jump onto this real quick. I just went to this AmeriFuture weekend. Jumped onto the traveling show and got to hang out with a ton of great anons and people that just absolutely give and give. And the reason I know their giving is amazing is because CPAP less, which affected my oxygenated brain. But I mean, it's exhausting. It's like being on tour almost, I guess, if you're a band, right? And all the moving parts and all the people coming and going, and what's the reason that that's important? They're doing it is the driving force. Right? It's for the kids. It's for our country. I mean, our republic, constitutional republic. I always have to say that for the people that will want to remind me. They get really upset if you don't go all the way. But yeah, I apologize. I have a little bit of a head cold, so if I'm sniffling. But overall, we have our hearts are on our sleeves. I mean, this means everything. But when we're in this for the right reasons, I mean, it means everything. You cannot remove the aspect of someone's heart being in something, right? And I don't know how many sports movies you've seen but it's the team that digs down that they have to find themselves to be able to overcome and win against the guys that cheat and lie, cheat, and steal, or have all but it's like all these movies and stories distilled because it's the true essence of this is good versus evil, right? And when you're on the good side, and once you realize how bad the evil side's been, you really don't have any choice, right? Whatever metaphor, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And what aren't we willing to sacrifice, honestly, for your son and your future and your family's future? What aren't you willing to sacrifice?
You've said that to me before, and that was when I was struggling to put out there that I needed help to the movement, and it was one of the turning points in my life, and how seriously I took this movement. Can I give you one more compliment before?
Oh God,
I want to do this. Right. I want to do this so everybody knows.
Okay.
I don't know that everybody reads your posts. Tons and tons and tons and tons of people follow your accounts, and there's a reason. You write beautifully. Your logical thinking process is kind of second to none. But I think that the major compliment I want to give that I'm not sure everybody's aware of is, look, you've been sharing my content since I was at like 5,000 followers on Twitter, right? You have been probably the most supportive, loyal type of friend, and this doesn't just go for me, which is why I'm saying it. I watch you do it for really, honestly, hundreds of accounts that have the same goals that we have, which is all the basic stuff, freedom, family, country, saving kids, all those things. And you go out there relentlessly and grind every day in supporting and pushing those accounts, no matter how big. And you did it for me. And I owe you a thank you. And so do hundreds of other people.
Right. Well, just what's funny about that is that there's no rhyme or reason, but I challenge anyone. I mean, just go look at who I follow. Of course, I follow some other big accounts, but almost all the people I follow are small accounts. And during the day, most people that I repost and comment to, respond to are smaller accounts. And I don't do that because it looks cool, right? In fact, because of what we've learned about how our rankings are done, like by Parzival, who's done some awesome work on all this. But it turns out that the more you engage with lower ranked accounts, the more you engage with accounts that are like some of them, especially if they're in the, they have to show more, like they're being sanctioned, they're being throttled, and you interact and follow them and repost them. The smaller one, that brings your ranking down because you're less, I don't know, you're less effective than you could be, I guess. So however the algorithms are set up, it doesn't reward you as a larger account to interact more with smaller accounts. And that's just abhorrent. I don't understand that, but it's one of those things I don't have time to worry about, right? And I know that there's enough of us that even if it's kind of like, it makes me a little bit less effective on that front, so be it. I said, I don't give a crap about this. In fact, I don't want to do this, man. I am a reluctant. I want to have a regular life. I don't even know what a regular life looks like anymore, Joe. But I just want some semblance of that. So at some point, I'm hoping that.
Ayo, there's a human factor that I think can sometimes beat out the AI factor. And tell me I'm wrong, but I don't care. When I'm talking to you, I do the same thing. I interact when I have the time, right? A lot of my time's at work, as I was getting at earlier. Unfortunately, most of my posting and interacting time is while I'm at work because I put family first. And when I'm at home, I put it all down. Unless I'm doing these shows. And the reason I'm doing day shows is because the kids are at school and Kim's at work because she's a teacher. So that's why the show moved to daytime. But
Right.
What I'm getting at is I think that most people appreciate the genuine nature of actually look. I don't just post and walk away, although I kind of am doing that on Truth and a little bit on Telegram. I still try to interact. And I think that human factor, that genuine talking to people, showing love and caring and all of those things, I don't know that it beats out the AI factor, but your account's at almost 250,000. Mine in just over a year is at 137,000 on Twitter. So I love Parzival's work, but there's a human factor that's not accounted for when it comes to AI. Does that make sense?
Oh no, and I totally agree. I at some point, it's hard to see it with the bots and the accounts, and at some point it makes sense that the technology will catch up to where self-driving cars and artificial personalities will all work seamlessly, right? But we're not there yet, thank God. One could even argue, it occurs to me, that one of the reasons why the Great Awakening had to happen as it is right now and coming to a head is because of challenges posed by AI and technology, right? Because we already know that like deep fakes are going to be used and argued as being fakes, and that when they're not, and that's one of the reasons they're being pushed, because the technology is to the standpoint where it's plausible, right? It's kind of like when remember when Tom Hanks, one of our favorite, I mean that facetiously, actors, he was in that show, the Polar Express, that cartoonish movie, remember? And it was kind of a cross between technology at the time and at the best, and to where it was like semi-real using his face, but it wasn't quite there yet, if you get my point, right? To where you can it's like when the CGI and you can kind of tell it's not quite there. At some point, we're not going to be able to tell, right? It's just the way technology goes, but we're not there yet. And to your point about even if AI writes something, I mean, it has to go from things that are already thought of, structured things. It's not. Is it live or is it Memorex? Remember that commercial of the guy sitting in the chair and the sound is blasting at him? Is it live or is it Memorex? People can tell if it's live, right? There's a genuineness there. You cannot account for the human spirit. You can't fake it necessarily to that point. And I think people respond to legitimate both people and messages, right? So and this gets back into where, when people are pushing contrived narratives and other things, and they're having to twist the truth around. I mean, yeah, some people are going to fall for it because, human beings are involved. But for the most part, the wheat and the chaff separate themselves, and the truth and the lies do the same, right? And for the most part, I think most people get it. We do know there's a lot of things that aren't organic, because of course they're not. It's the nature of the beast. In this case, I mean that metaphorically as well as directly. We have people that push narratives that aren't true. And by the way, for those that haven't figured out, this isn't always infighting. Sometimes it is infighting, right? Because once again, humans. I always laugh with people. I'm like, just look at your own family. Does everybody always get along? And to the person, they're like, yeah, well, no, of course not. I'm like, okay, well, any group of humans, the larger you get, the more dysfunction you're going to have, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. But there are people that represent interests that don't want people to get along. They don't want to see, lock arms and become stronger and learn more together, because that hinders our ability to stand stalwart against the dark forces, right? I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's one of the two places where you and I differ, because again, to be completely honest, you find inspiration in certain people. I think everybody does that, whether you're a musician, you're a politician, no matter what it is you do. And you and I are out here kind of doing the same thing when it comes to social media. And I've drawn much inspiration from the way that you carry yourself. And I don't live up to being able to grind the way you do and supporting everyone. And there's a reason that I do that. I stay more in my chat and talk to everyone, because that's more my strength. And I want to stay out of the fighting. So
right.
I think that you end up with all the integrity that you have in sharing and putting everybody out there. You also sometimes end up, with all the integrity I talked about, still putting yourself in the crosshairs. And I don't like being there. I'm very uncomfortable with it, as I know you are.
I hate it. Sometimes I get out over my skis. I'm human, right? I mean, come on. And there's times where you let people get to you more than other times, and they're trying to, is the thing. But we learn. Like I said, I've learned a lot. In a lot of ways, I'm going to tell you, this last weekend has re-energized me in so many wonderful ways. It's the genuineness, right? Sometimes there's a cold disconnect, which is why doing shows like this is nice, right? Kind of break that third wall, interact, but as you know, we're on different chat groups, people are DMs, whatever, and we become more real, I guess, and when you're meeting a person, especially as you reinforce and build friendships and connections that you wouldn't otherwise ever have made, and you feel how powerful it is. And I think back to your point earlier, is you can't fake that. Right? There's that famous post from the guy, I believe he mention he was in one of the 3-letter agencies. And he's been in the rooms when they're trying to talk about how to coordinate and go against certain memes or certain, and it drives them crazy, because you have a bunch of, most of us are just basically idiots, right? I mean, figuring this out on our own. And with Battlestar Galactica, a ragtag fleet of, duct taped together, and we can't be thwarted. And it drives them absolutely crazy, because they can't figure it out. They can't overanalyze it. They can't, because it's organic, and because when it's inspired by people and their belief in God and being a good person and doing the right thing, no amount of planning and subterfuge, intentional, is going to counter that, right? And then people are drawn to that, I mean, that's where we kind of take a similar approach to that. You want to be left out of things, and I definitely do too. The one problem is you just don't want to give air time or attention to people that have, and if they're naturally just have different opinions about things, and they're like just a black pill person in general, and there's no agenda, I mean, so be it, right? Everyone's entitled to their opinions, but when you look at it all together, you kind of lump it all, and you think all the positive, and all the good-natured people, and all the things that we as society deserve, if we could deserve anything, is we just deserve to be a better shake at it, right? We deserve a day in the sun without having people trying to screw us over on every turn, right? Tax us to death, try to destroy our families, poison our food, give it a name, lie to us on every level. And it's like, haven't you had enough? Just like, I'm done. I'm done with the bullshit. And no one could ever take me us away from that now.
I couldn't agree more, because, like, to be honest, I have opinions across the board, right? I have opinions on every argument that you guys have seen on any social media platform. I have opinions, but typically I keep them to myself, because I'm of the mindset that problems work themselves out. And the more you interject, it's almost like this, right? So back in the day, something bad would happen, and like you would call the police, and then like like you would think that person's the one that's going to go to jail, and then you end up in handcuffs. I can't tell you how many
is this from personal experience?
It is. So I think I use that experience though today, because I have come to the conclusion that unless your house is burning down or someone is seriously injured, those type of events, I don't call the police. Right? I just don't, because sometimes I'm the one that ends up, doing a couple months. But I think that does translate. So like, I'm not going to jump in, and I don't even want to use anybody's names, but there's large accounts that are attacking people that I love. Mm-hmm. And I think to myself, okay, just keep posting the way you post and just keep doing the right thing, because these issues, we're all headed to the same place.
Right. We're on the Polar Express together, and those tracks go in one direction, right?
Yeah.
There's different cars, whatever metaphor. I love metaphors, but yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And once again, but things will work themselves out. I just tend to say, you know what, the more I focus on what interests me and my take on whatever the heck the next thing is that I have a take on, they to keep my focus on that and not get derailed. See what I did there? Huh?
Right.
But I think happy warriors, the more that we're positive and work together and build each other up. I mean, this is, it's just the way humans work, right? And there's a momentum factor involved, like sports, and we definitely have the momentum. And by giving some of that away, we give back some of that momentum. I think that just remaining positive and pressing forward regardless, the truth wins out overall. And anyone looking to create havoc, I mean, you'll just see patterns. Pattern recognition means everything. And when you see a pattern, good and bad, most people will be able to like spot that, and over time they can see it for what it is. And you and I are both in recovery, so we both understand the serenity prayer. And I have really leaned into that more and more in my life. In as much as that I can't control other things. Of course I can. And a lot of my life and a lot of the problems I have are me trying to exert control over things I can't control, and at the same time not exerting control over things I can. And you can't win, right? It's a lose-lose scenario, and everything goes to hell. So if I flip that around and it's like, oh my God, how about this? How about I just focus on me and what I can accomplish, right? And then let other people do their thing. And that can be good or bad. I mean, I can point it out. I can say I don't agree with things, or that I agree, but I mean, I don't have control over it. So let's, if I could segue this back into the Great Awakening, right? Which by the way, guys, I like to think it's not an event. This is a process, right? And so we look at things like it's come back around. So let's just talk about it. We're talking about Operation Warp Speed. And all these people that are still butthurt about, I mean, I get it, right? We had a planet was shut down due to a man-made contagion that was intentionally released. I mean, yeah, this sucks on every level. But it's the anger against Trump coming from people that are ostensibly on his side on everything else. And mad to the point of like, I'm not going to vote because of this. And I think, guys, let's think about this on a very, very simple kind of side, let's put it over the side and say, okay, in general, President of the United States know more about what's going on than you do. And, unless you're an absolute idiot, you say, of course. Well, don't you think on the matter of a worldwide global pandemic meant to push us into FEMA camps, I guess, originally, or whatever, you know what I mean? Keep us locked down, forced vaccinations, all these things that was part of their plan. That was thwarted. We still had to go through it somewhat, but in there, don't you believe that as big of an event and there's all these things involved in biolabs and all these other things, that there's a chance that there's more going on here than we as regular people would see? I mean, of course, right? And so when I trust Trump, and I mentioned before, I'm all in, right? With Trump, I'm all in. I put all my coins, all my chips on the table to just push it. I give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they couldn't mandate the vaccination, and I understand that was the goal. And I understand that's also tied to Operation Warp Speed. I also know that Omicron came out of nowhere and like the pandemic killer, and that happened. And I think that it's probably because white hats were involved with it. And I don't know exactly, but all I know is that he earned my benefit of the doubt. So why would I create a black pill and try to keep other people from voting in November against him based on something I don't have complete information about, and against the only person that appears to be fighting on my behalf? Right? It's effing stupid, is what it is. Anyway, I'm just going off on a tangent.
I struggle with those things that everybody gets so upset about, like the recent comment about RFK and his beliefs being that the vaccine thing is fake. I struggle for exactly the reason you just said. Trump has been right about, I mean, the saying goes, Trump's been right about everything. So much so that I believe it's scripted, right? And so when Trump says these things that are confusing emotionally or intellectually, instead of engaging with the emotional conversation where everybody gets upset and starts attacking and doubting, and I take a step back. I won't post about that yet. I'll take it all in, 24, 48, 72 hour at least. Sometimes I won't ever. I really honestly haven't posted about Israel because I don't feel confident enough that I comprehend everything that's happening to give a real honest opinion. I'm still trying to figure that one out, to be honest with you. And I upset some anons because they're so passionate and they have a belief system. And I don't not post about it because I am, what they would believe to be wrong about my beliefs. I just am not posting yet because I can't wrap my mind around it yet. Does that make sense?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I and this is actually, I was talking to some friends over the weekend about this exactly. And we don't know. And sometimes I think it's good to step back and not ask ourselves what we want, but what's good for us, right? It's like sometimes kids got to eat vegetables, but it's not what they want to eat, but it's good for them. We want people to wake up, right? And that, I think individually, as we get further and further along in this in our own journeys, right? And sometimes that journey takes us in different directions. We don't all focus on the same thing. We can agree on most of it, but there are things along truth kind of journey that have nuances and differences than other people. And I've used the chance before of adrenochrome or frazzle drip with that, or flat earth, and this isn't to make our Flirt for Friends upset. I'm not. It gets back to what is the goal? If the goal is to wake people up, and the first part of waking up is generally on more milquetoast things, right? You have to realize that you're in a matrix first before you delve. And so a lot of people that have been awake for a while have become educated, really well educated, especially in the topics that interest them, like a flat earth, for example. And that's great. That's great. And personally, I look at it and say, our problems are the same, regardless if Earth is flat or not, right? Same evil bastards run our lives and harvest our children in different ways, right? And so when I'm looking at like all these new people, that's kind of where I try to get. I don't post a lot of new stuff for that reason, because I'm I'm thinking about the new people that still haven't figured out that, Russiagate was something manufactured by our own side, Hillary Clinton stuff against, that was an insurgency. That was, that's an act of war against the United States. They don't understand that yet. And if I'm coming at them with stuff that took me years to learn, that's like expecting freshmen at college to take 400 and 500 level master classes
Amen.
on subjects when they don't have any of the background information. You can't just start at advanced physics, right? You have to start learning the basics. And our own people forget that sometimes, and they expect everyone all the way to the end with you. And I think that does a couple things. It pushes people away, right? It reinforces negative caricatures that the media has been able to, unfortunately, successfully impart on people, right? You're crazy. These are crazy people, right? And they just don't have the base of knowledge yet. And I think that there's not enough love on our side sometimes for that. And then once people get that aha kind of thing moment, they have their own red pill moment, then it opens up the door to all these other things. But the cart and the horse kind of applies here, right? You can't come in talking about frazzle drip, because the average person, they won't, as horrible as it is, right? And it's pretty horrible and sensational. It also sounds a little bit out there, does it not?
Hey, you want a really great example of exactly what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Make a post on any of your social media platforms and just ask, what was your red pill moment? You will get answers from all the way back in the 20s to 9/11 to Joe Biden tripping up steps.
Right.
Everyone is waking up at a different pace. Something grabbed a hold of them, whether it be emotionally or intellectually, that changed their life in that, what we describe as a red pill differently, right, which made them then go down different rabbit holes that interest them. Everybody has their own experience through this process. And I love what you just said, because we do need to be understanding of that and understand we all have an ultimate goal, but our process is different.
Right. And so the idea that we're all, I mean, nobody likes the same music, I mean, and even within certain genres of music, I don't like that, rapper, singer, band, but they're in the same genre. I mean, so people have we're drawn to different things. That's why there are different radio stations. They might be owned by all the same company, right, to bring in the fake news media empire. And they have their own agenda, but people naturally compartmentalize themselves, right, and pursue, just like college or anything. People tend to like math more, go to that, or scientists, or if you like pronouns and figuring out how women and men can have babies, then you might go on the path of the general studies department at the colleges. I'm being facetious, but yeah, so they all have different news. We actually recently were part of, and we reposted pictures asking people what woke them up without words. And yeah, they were all over the board. Some of it was Epstein, 9/11, obviously, and other things. But what's amazing is you can't predict what woke up who and when and why, right? Yeah. And I guess to the larger point is then we've learned all this information for years. There's people that study things for 7 years, 10 years. They're called doctors. And so effectively you have like people with PhDs and, give it a name, vertical. And even then, you have to realize, am I teaching graduate students or am I teaching incoming freshmen? Because your message is going to be entirely different. And that's one place where I would encourage people to really think about is putting yourself in the shoes of the newcomers and helping them, not telling them what they have to believe or which track to take or which things are the most important to you, but just to help wake them up in general, to give them nudges. Because I believe that everybody, just like I did, just like you did, had to have that aha moment, right? That Stanley Kubrick quote that I like, where when something shoots right through to your heart, and you're like, your hair stands on end, and you're like, that. I don't even know how to explain what that is, right? But you know what I'm talking about. Everyone has to have their own moment like that, and then from there, they naturally are going to pursue things that interest them the most, and that's okay. In fact, that's good, in my opinion.
I think something I want to transition into some of the things that got us excited over this weekend, but I want to ask you
Okay.
one more thing. So for me, I've learned that at least what I believe. I shouldn't say I've learned. What I believe is the most important thing in this process is encouraging people to have a free thought process. And I think that all starts with understanding that you've been lied to a lot.
Mhm.
And once you realize that you've been lied to a lot, I think that that's when the process begins. And unfortunately, a lot of people then swing really hard to the other side and gain some really strong belief systems and ideals, and then can become so passionate that it turns people off. Whereas my process has led me to this point where I'm not offended when you disagree with me. I'm not offended about, even if you want to have a debate that we're not ever going to convince each other of one side being the truth or not because of the experience we've come through. But
Yeah.
I think the most important part of that conversation is encouraging, accepting, and loving others for their discernment. It's the free thought process. The thinking outside the box and understanding you've been lied to is the basis for everything I think that we should be doing. I'm not saying that, anybody's wrong in in putting out what they believe to be the truth. But I don't think
Mhm.
that necessarily the word truth is the most important part. I think the most important part
Mm.
is understanding that what we've been told is not the truth, and then
Mm.
searching for and going through this process together. I think the unity and the free thought process is the most important.
Well, that's beautiful, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I look at it and say, a better question that I ask myself is what hasn't been infected, what haven't evil bastards taken advantage of, right? I mean, you're making a list of like what have they corrupted? It's like, well, everything, right? Why would people with their morals, their values, what they want to pursue, why would they leave any morsel untouched? Right. So every potential angle, of course, they've infiltrated everything, right? And when you give into that, yeah, because that's that moment when you realize how bad it is, and then it's scary, in my opinion, because then you realize like, wow, my whole life's been based on lies. Everyone in the military that wakes up has to come to the fact that, man, I was actually serving as muscle to the largest global crime syndicate in history, right? We see the movies, we see the
Wow.
gangsters that go around and collect money door to door from the, protection so we don't burn your shop down. But basically, why people were in Afghanistan for 20 years, right? I mean, you look around and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. It never did. The reason it didn't make any sense is because we were muscle for the crime syndicate. I'm just talking in general here, right? But it's difficult because you really hit on a nerve. I mean, we have to come to grips with the fact that we have been part of the problem, even if unwittingly, right? Unknowingly, unwittingly. And we see this right now. And I look around like some of our woke Tardian brothers and sisters who still to this day cling to and defend their own enslavers, right? The people that want to rape and pillage their children as well have convinced them to help point out that we're the problem. And so, we have, like I said, we were one of those people. All of us at some point in our life thought things are what they are. Like the diorama we lived in was real. That Truman Show set that lived in the whole time. And I love the Truman Show. I've used it a lot to talk about it. I was thinking about this. The only person cool enough to be Truman would be Trump. But the point is that when you realize that we're all background actors, if you remember the movie, the people milling around on the town square in that, what turns out to be a set, Truman's not supposed to know it. So we're all background actors walking around, right? So and then whether or not we come to realize that we're background actors walking around, that's the formation, but we're still trapped in the same paradigm, right? And it's really amazing because it's amazing how strong the social the programming had been to date, right? That the paradigm that we were sold, the false lies and narratives, and any boy can be president and you can vote, and and all these things are absolutely just blatant lies. But when taught to believe are true, because they our enslavers need us to be unaware of our the fact that we are in prison, right? In their bullshit construct. And I'll tell you what, my friend, as you've seen, it's not only scary, but people will actually protect those lies because even if they don't realize it threatens everything they think they believe in. And so they're unwilling to even consider it because it's impossible. There's no way that can be true. I mean, you've seen it a lot, haven't you?
Amen. Absolutely, 100%. I wanna address this comment because earlier you talked about the Serenity Prayer, and the comment from TPW30 says that most of my problems start in the mirror. All the problems I can solve start there too. So you talked about the Serenity Prayer, and for anybody that isn't aware how it goes, it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And there's a version of that Serenity Prayer that I would say that I think directly relate to this comment. And so there's a me version of that prayer. And I've said it a couple times on the show, but I'll say it again. But it goes, God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the ones I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. So it truly is only one person you can control when it comes to discerning this information and going through that process. And that is you. It comes with the whole lesson that, you put expectations on people, they're going to fail you. I deal with this in my relationship. I think that everybody does. So I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting comment and a great place to put that lesson that I've learned through addiction and getting sober and this process. So.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of people, even a lot of people that are listening now or will listen later that have been through the horrors of addiction, and some people haven't won that battle, and other people, fight to this day. But a lot of those, I will say, just on the side note, that I believe that a lot of the problems that we have are a net result of the shitstorm that we've lived in our whole lives. It's not saying it's that part that some of that's not our fault. But you can't excuse the fact that we just were brought up in a shitty world on purpose. And here's an example. Catholic priests, right? Why are all these Catholic priests buggering all these kids and causing and then they get caught and they just ship them off to a new diocese and then they do the same. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. And then once you finally come to understand is because you can't control it, that's part of the job description. Because what makes sense is all of the human wreckage that causes, that people that are beaten and molested will tend to have a propensity of beating and molesting others in the future. So it's like a negative paying it forward, right? An evil version. And so when they know that they're doing all these things on purpose, then it all starts to make sense. And that's when all the beliefs that we think we have kind of like fade away all around us. And because then you start seeing the lie, the deception for what it is. And man, it's a lot, as you know, right?
Yeah, without question.
Yeah, and all we want to do is help other people see it. And I think in there, that's that learning curve that we have to become better. I'm a better person. I'm still an asshole and I do a lot of things wrong. But I'm a better person for having gone through this because it's forced me to look at me in the mirror, right? And really embrace things like the Serenity Prayer. It's not just some words that I say, you just, turn over in your head so you can just say it like a muscle memory. But it's true, you can't, the things you can't control, none of us can control. You can't know what you don't know. The difference is once you know it, then the question is, what can you do, right? And, it turns out that individually, very few of us are going to grow up to be someone like a Trump that has a mass impact. But it's the collection of Whoville, right? The collection of our voices as we hold hands now. And that amplification of the truth, and that's what I love about all this. We talked about, I think this last time, around how everyone kind of gravitates toward different things, Some people make memes. Some people even there and do only video memes. Some people do threads. Some people promote it. Very few people do everything and everything equally well. And there's no even track where people are going in. When you join the military, they have different MOSs, and so they'll be like, okay, we need you to be in infantry, or we need you to be, and then they have different career paths based on that, right? And so, but they try to keep. They have times where like, all right, we need more people that have this specialty, and they try to promote that. There's none of that, right? I mean, this is just like when you wake up, you hear, great, grab a shovel. What am I supposed to dig? Whatever you want to dig, metaphorically. And if that means that you're not a content creator, but you do interact with and help promote this to other people, then you're amplifying the truth, right? And everyone's doing it organically, and for some reason, thank God, basically, in more ways than one, it just works, right? Because again, it's the positive nature of good intentions, and that I think most people are good. And most people want what's best for us and our children. And so as we learn to break away from this crappy, dirty, disgusting infrastructure, like our debt slavery system. Our debt slavery system isn't broken, by the way, right? It's working perfectly. That's why you can't fix it. We're supposed to be trillions in debt. The plan is to bring us all down, right? So it's hard. I guess I just digress because you get back into what hasn't been compromised, right? What hasn't? It's the answer is yes, right? And so, but does that mean everyone in the military? Of course not, or all the countries, right? We've all been fooled and deceived by the Great Deception, and that deception is on the ropes. If you think of it like a wounded animal, and it knows it's dying and it's cornered, and it's definitely going to be dangerous at this point. I mean, you think about it, it just makes sense, right? Of course, there's hell on wheels causing havoc in our ranks, because this is the front line, by the way, right? Let us not forget, it's not as though I wish some of this would go away so we could focus on. It's like this is this, right? There's no line, so to speak, in digital warfare. And so a good deal of what we see is either direct or indirectly caused by those wishing us ill will and to knock the forces of good off track. But they can't. Same thing going back to those meetings, drive the guys crazy why they can't figure out how to create a mean narrative to go against, because it's not organic, right? It's not from the heart. And that legitimacy, you just cannot manufacture that.
So you were talking about everybody playing their part, and Yale said, this really made me laugh. He said, some people do gay poems. Look, Yale, your gay poems made you meet Donald Trump. So I think it's a really good point in exactly what AO was saying. We all play our part, and collectively we can move the sticks forward in a positive direction. You got to meet Trump. I'm pretty jealous of your gay poems, buddy. Just saying.
Yeah. And by the way, Yale's great. If you guys don't follow him, you should follow him. Yeah. But yeah, gay poems are his thing. No, but so even all the different things we do, we enjoy, right? And that's why I say to my flat earth brothers and sisters, it's great. Everybody, it's you like whatever music you like and all that, but sometimes we just all have to ask ourselves, like, what are we trying to accomplish, right? Because I personally, this is all I can do, is I personally try to focus on what's most beneficial to the most people, is just helping expose the larger lie that we live in, right? So that pretty much touches on everything, because different people are going to wake up on different things as per that meme train, for lack of a better, where, what woke you up. And so different people are going to wake up to different things. I mean, we did. Why would we expect anyone else to have a different thing? And you know what? I honestly believe that we all get this, and we talk about it a lot because it's freaking important, right? For obvious reasons. But the truth is also right there. I mean, we all know what the truth is. I'm not gonna, I'm more dedicated right now at this very second to the greater good, regardless of the toll it takes, than I ever was. I am more certain that things are going as well as you can, right? I mean, this is one of the difficulties I have, buddy, and you know this, is you get down this path of talking about what you believe versus what we have, what drives the larger conversation. And I am an optimist like you, but and I do want to see the best in people, and that has bitten me in the ass, but that's a separate issue. But the idea of are we all screwed or not, right? Well, I don't think we're screwed, and there's no reason not to keep the pedal to the metal, right? But I am not a doomer, and I'm not a doomer for a very particular reason. It's because I don't freaking believe it. I believe in the power of God's love, and that most people are inherently good people, and they want what's best for themselves and their children.
This is why we get.
And they've had enough of being lied to. And all I want to do is be a part of that, right? Just be a part of that, whatever capacity I can. And if that means if it helps, whatever is, see, I can only do me, right? I don't even know what me means. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. All I know is that I just want to hang out with other people that love their country and love their family and have had enough.
Bro, I spend like 6 hours before these shows going, I hope I have enough content that we can talk for like an hour or two. And me and you just said hi for 55 minutes.
Yeah, so let's get into the crux. Yeah, what are we talking about?
Well,
exactly.
Okay. So let me do the podcaster thing for just a second, because you're included in this. Well, yeah, of course you are. So I want to first and foremost ask everybody, look, there's over 1,300 people watching right now between all platforms. If you guys could just, the number one thing that I could ever ask anybody to do to help get the show out there would just be to push that positive affirmation button on whatever platform you're on. So if you're on Rumble, hit that thumbs up. YouTube, same deal. If you're over
the Stuart Smalley button.
Yeah. Yeah, on Twitter, it's the little recycle one where you share it out so other people come and get to hang out with us and do the same thing. And then just so everybody's aware, I like to say this because it was a difficult thing for me to do. It was kind of like when I called to ask you what I should do if I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
People in the comments, because most of the views on these shows honestly come on the replay. They're not here in the chat, although I'm stoked about more and more people being here live for chats. I mean, we have over 300 on Rumble. So that banner running across the bottom was asked for by people that are watching the show and wanted to support in a way, because you can only support, like financially or whatever, to try to keep the show going during a live show. So the Cash App that's running across the bottom, or the QR code in the top right, that was because people asked. You are not required to give anything for this show. However, I am grateful if anybody does support. That is the truth. And then, of course, Mike Lindell. So Mike Lindell jumped right on board when I had my little separation and we started this Rambo and Frens show. And the promo code, if you choose to support Mike Lindell, as I absolutely do, the dude's brilliant. I think he has more of a role than people realize. You can use promo code Rambo if you want to support Mike and support this show. And of course, this is what I was talking about with you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I love all that, and this is something I do like, touches on something I do like to mention, and it's like, shame on us that we've allowed some of bitches to come in and try to convince us that working together, buying Americans one another, that's wrong. How the hell did we ever let that even creep into the conversation? To hell with them all. We know BlackRock. We know all these guys own all the big. That's why the big stores that they own were the only things open during COVID, right? To put all the mom and pop shops out. So when we talk about supporting one another, we're assholes that are empowered by our own enemies, trying to convince one another that we shouldn't support one another. It doesn't make any sense. And anybody that's still leaning that way, because I let it affect me for a while. I've had enough, man. To hell with them. I think do you ever find yourself leveling up? Like, I call it, like, you're working your way through a video game toward the final boss, but like, you level up and you're on a different level than you were before. And I just to amaze me. Like just last weekend, I feel like I've leveled up again, right? Does that make sense? Do you get the feeling?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, and I think that's why this project is so awesome. Look, people are out here throwing around terms that I honestly think are deep state infiltration. How are we ever supposed to fight back against the mainstream media, BlackRock, Vanguard, all of these global interests, the central banking system, if we don't vote with our dollars? So this is not a ploy for you guys to come out and support me. This is a ploy for the movement. Stop calling people patriots and grifters if they are doing something you believe in.
Right.
Like,
and it's voluntary.
break that wall down. Vote with we all have very little dollars at this point. We have very little dollars.
I can assure you that's true.
But we're still ordering from freaking Amazon.
Right.
I still do it. If you guys are honest, we all do, because it's the most convenient, easiest way to freaking sell our country out.
Right.
And then we got guys out here. I have tons of podcasts I support, tons of guys in the movement I choose to support. I'm not going to make it about this. This was just supposed to be something to transition. But all of the guys that are on this page are patriots. I don't, here's how you decide. If you don't agree with one of the faces on here, you don't buy their coffee. But you don't try to take the movement down by calling them patriots and grifters.
Yeah. Anyway, the coffee. So that was an option left open to me. I actually haven't even touched on that before, and I'm still waiting because just timing wise, I get tired of the insufferable attacks and things. But the truth of the matter is it's about the fact that we're trying to. I was just at the AmeriFuture event. And, they have all these organizations that are trying, also raise money to help fight child sex trafficking and, join this cause and that cause. And then, we even get, all of us that support Trump get texts, at least a few a day. In my case, you guys probably experience the same text from Trump, donate to the campaign, support. We use our dollar to support things, and if not just our dollars, our attention, right? Like when you want to support a campaign, let's say with Trump, and you don't have money to donate, you could probably donate and get in on call lists and things where you can call and talk to people, or work with someone like Scott Pressler and try to get people signed up and registered to vote. And I just think that we all know what's true. The thing is we can talk about it ad nauseum, but we all know it's true. It depends on what your intentions are. And have there always been oil salesmen? The reason the term snake oil salesman exists is because there always have been, given a name. And so, but we can't allow, and even not all those are organic, right? And I don't want to talk about any of them because it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that there are people that have nefarious intentions or whatever. They try to use these situations, because you can imagine, game plan this. You create situations that blow up in a negative way, and then you intentionally use that as a means to head off at the pass the other efforts, because you try to paint them all the same negatively, right? And then you get a bunch of patriots pointing fingers at each other, and we're taken off topic, we're infighting, we're doing all the things the enemy would want. Why would we do what the enemy wants us to do? And that applies if it's the devil, right? Or actual enemies here, mortal enemies on this planet. I think we all know the answer. The answer is to do more of what works positive, do less of what works in the negative. That's the way I live, baby. That's it. That's all I got.
The issue comes full circle to what I was talking about a free thought process. Look, the movement has absolutely 100% been infiltrated by people that are trying to divide it. If you throw out a blanket statement where everyone in the movement that accepts a donation, like, for example, this show, if you blanket statement the whole movement as patriot or grifter, then you are part of what's destroying and dividing the movement. It comes down to that free thought process. If you agree with someone, then and you're able, then support them. If you disagree,
isn't it like following them? Isn't that kind of like following? Like different people have subscriptions, and you can follow them without a subscription. If they have a Substack and you like what they write, but you don't want to pay for it, you can still read it. But people's content that they create and their thoughts, that actually has value, right? That's like if you're a writer and you're writing books, and if people don't like your books, they buy your books. But if you're successful and they do, but we reward that. That's part of capitalism. So, what's the thing, just to touch on capitalism, I look at this and you look at these different economic systems, Marxism, communism, all the isms, to me, it's all 100% government. It's all the same people that want 100% government, and so capitalism is based on self-interest. Now, for the dummies in the back, let me explain. Human beings operate on self-interest. Ultimately, what's good for me, Maslow's hierarchy, shelter, food, water, family, right? That's what drives us all, and that's okay. But capitalism works it parallels that. Is it perfect? No, it can't be perfect. Does it get corrupted? Absolutely. Our capitalist system is all kinds of corrupted. We all know that. But it's the best system. Alternatively, all these crap systems that the deep state have tried over the years, different iterations under different names, basically collectivism, doesn't work because that's not how humans work. I'll give you a quick example. I love this one. My brother at one point was going out with this girl, and without getting into all the details, she was a hippie child. I think her name was Sunshine something, but her family had grew up on an actual in the 70s, and it was I think it still might be the largest privately owned stand of redwood forest in the world. It's right next to the Muir Woods, MUIR, right? The pictures where you see the sequoias where you drive a car through underneath, and beautiful. I mean, so they were living out there in this hippie commune in the redwoods, and over the years, everyone as they got older has sold out because they but the thing is that all the communes died. So they had this beautiful commune in the redwoods, but like all the other communes, they died. And the reason why is capitalism. It's this idea of self-worth. It's very simple. Everybody's in at the beginning, kumbaya, we're all going to garden and do all these things together, and then we all share the bounty. It sounds great. Not how humans work. Not how humans work. Because invariably, at some point, some of the guys that smoking weed all day instead of helping, garden, still going to want to eat, right? The people that aren't fishing are still going to want to eat. They just want to hang out more because some people just aren't as motivated. That creates jealousy. Why should I have to work all day when they get the same benefit I get, right? And so what it does is any system other than capitalism depresses people's output because of human nature. Whereas capitalism, if that makes sense, rewards that. Because you know what? It's okay to operate in self-interest. Not solely in self-interest, right? But the thing is that that's not a bad thing. Anyway, that's my little economic rant. Does it make sense?
This is why I love hanging out with you. Yeah, I think you're brilliant. Let's do some fun stuff.
All right.
So there's a reason that I'm so excited about this weekend. The first of which is Donald Trump's Truth Social page. Did you happen to see any of that?
You'll have to fill me in, dude. I have no idea what's going on.
All right. So here's the first one that I want to show.
I'm pulling it up.
This happened yesterday. I think this one's actually deleted, AO.
Okay.
But this is a real screenshot that I took off of his page. Do you know the way Truth Social works when you use your phone? When you retruth something, it makes it look like it might potentially be the original comment, but it's the one look, if all of Donald Trump's comments showed up on his page, that would be insane. So let's think this through for a second. What he retruthed here was the comment. So here is the comment that he retruthed. It was from Ultra Maga Rocky 0017. And it said, one of my favorites. Now here's the video. Oh, I hope we can hear this. Hold on.
I can't.
Why is it not giving me sound? Maybe it's slow to the sound. Hold on. Well, that's going to bug me.
Nothing ever always works perfectly on a show, dude.
It's coming.
There it goes.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Okay. So Donald Trump retruthed this video. We have to watch all the way to the end.
Those uniforms always crack me up. Mm. Large and in charge.
Can we just acknowledge first and foremost that Donald Trump retruthing a video that says that all of these people submitted is, like JF and OnSmart Paul might yell at me tomorrow and say that this is cartoon narrative.
Yeah. Well, they're way out on. They're light years light years ahead of us looking back. But yes,
agree. I completely agree, and I can't wait to talk to them about this stuff. But if we look at it on a surface level, Donald Trump retruthing this is kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, and he knows something. So a friend of mine and I were talking this weekend, and think about this. Trump obviously, excuse me, knows what's going on, and so does Scavino, to the point of, and this is the tell, right? You want to know if there's a tell or not. You'd have to believe Donald Trump, and by proxy, Dan Scavino, because he's definitely plays footsies with Anons on a daily basis.
Yes, he does.
Are evil. They have to be evil. Because they absolutely know what's going on, and they're absolutely bumping and stuff. Whether or not people want to believe it, that don't understand what's going on, it doesn't matter. We know it's true. So then you have to accept, like, well, Dan and Trump must be evil because they're leading us along this whole time. They're just leading us on, and we're all screwed. And you hear some of the doomers say some tough things, but it doesn't make any sense, right? Why is he giving us absolute nods against things that we know from the past that prove the present? Right, on a continual basis, if they aren't what they are. Why are all these foreign leaders coming to meet with Trump? He's not president, doing air quotes.
Look at that smile, bro.
Yeah.
Hold on, because
does he? So right there, we talked about this a lot. This is a great point. He is our barometer, great awakening barometer numero uno. Does he look like the end of the world is around the corner and we have no chance?
No. And
does he look afraid?
Wait, hold on, because you're gonna love this if you haven't seen it. There's two more I want to show you. This was all off of his page in the last 24 hours. Hold on. You got to watch this until the very last second.
Yeah, I love that.
Bro, some of their faces crack me up.
Yeah.
And
when they say submitted, I think this is awesome because think about it. When they say submitted, that doesn't necessarily mean the person that did the submitting is the enemy, right? So look at Bolsonaro, right? It's the forces of dark, the deep state that had taken over Brazil, right? So when Brazil submits, I think what we're seeing, I guess I get to, is not these countries aren't submitting as much as like going to over to a new master. I think these countries most likely are being told that they're free, right? They're submitting to the process that we're involved with and to whatever structure that looks like. But I think everyone's been given their sovereignty back that they haven't had.
Brazil's a blatantly obvious one, dude. I don't know if you saw my thread on that one, but they are running an exact parallel, an absolute mirror operation. I mean, all the way down to the QAnon shaman. They raided his house. He's staying in Florida.
Yeah.
The whole thing about Brazil is an exact operation that we're watching unfold in the U.S. It's kind of mind blowing how similar it is.
Yeah, and you know what? This is an excellent point. They have I've seen different people see the throngs of Brazilians that go out and the hundreds of thousands or the millions, and when they protest. We've only had that once here, and we saw how the government treated those people. But they ask like, why isn't that happening here, or the trucker strike happened in Canada? And I believe that happens differently in different areas because people are different, right? I mean, we know what issues will bring Brazilians out. And so that's what messages they'll respond to, right? But that's not going to be the same messages in the Netherlands and such, the farmers, right? And it's not so bad that the farmers don't do the same thing in the other countries. It's what's most effective in that country. What are the red button issues, the hot button issues that bring people out in that country? But as far as parallels go, I mean, if everything's been infected, and we know it has, and every country.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, and every country is given a chance to kick out the evil bloodline vampires out for good. Everybody ultimately wanted that but you couldn't go against them because they control everything. Now that dynamic is changing, they just had to know that you're going to stand up to the bully, right? You got to all stand up to the bully, and I think that hasn't been able to happen. Trump was that guy. He was the galvanizing force that we're doing it this time. We're taking them down for good, and everyone's like signing on. It's like, you better kill the king, right? As they say, if you're going to kill the king, you better kill the king, because if you don't, they're going to be hell to pay. And nobody really ever trusted that anybody would stick this through. And I think that's where, in a sense, that's where Trump's character and through this whole thing has played out. He offered the world the vision to see that we were going to do this on the back end. And so, some of those, when the Queen submits and the Pope submits, those I think are huge, because that is the deep state apparatus. And a lot of these countries like Abe and with Japan and all these others are like, thank God, I'm moving my allegiance over to this, and part of that is them getting their countries back. So they should be proud.
If you pay attention to facial expressions and body language throughout this video, you will see the difference between the countries that were happy about this interaction and the people in countries that weren't. Argentina is a really good example, and it comes up next. Watch Donald Trump walk off the stage and then be chased down, bro. This is hysterical. Watch this.
Okay. Oh, that's great, man. I gotta use that for a meme. I gotta think of one. That's great. So it's funny on that front. Oh yeah. Nice hat Milani was wearing, right? Does everybody, can you pause it right there for a second?
Yeah.
Well, so people that may not have been in the military, so what we're seeing is pomp and circumstance, but there's a lot of symbolism that's going on, and I'm not an expert in British military, but when you review troops like that, there's a process by which people hand over, like there's a secession. So if you capitulate, or you, what's the word I'm looking for? What do you go when you give up? What's the other? Anyway, when you hand over power, or a commandment makes a change, right? There's these military ceremonies that happen, and in this case, where you're reviewing the troops, what's being insinuated is that the handoff is being made publicly, whether or not you understand it as a viewer. The implications are that ceremony is symbolic of them handing control over, and then Trump reviewing the troops as their actual now commander. If that makes more sense.
Okay, and the Queen one is blatantly obvious example of exactly what you're talking about, because the mainstream media, excuse me, the mainstream media, it's a good example of exactly what you're talking about, and an example of a cover-up, fifth generation warfare style mainstream media event, because Donald Trump walked next to the Queen. The Queen put her hand down and told him to walk in front of her. Donald Trump was made to look like a buffoon because he stepped in front of in an arrogant way and walked ahead of the Queen, as you are not supposed to do. But if you watch that video, she is the one that invited him to do so.
Right. She capitulated. She was the one that, and said, basically, here's the reins. And that's what we're seeing. And of course, the mainstream media wants to paint it different. And the fact that they're painting it something different is the tell, right? That's the tell where what we're talking about is right, because it's trying to go back to that thing about him being a buffoon. And he's such a buffoon that the whole world can't wait to help work with him and get rid of this freaking nightmare.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome to be at this point. I love it. I'm having so much fun, dude.
Yeah, and I think this actually is important too, because it's one of the hard things for us all, and this bothers me. As we're talking about the cancer that is child sex trafficking, right? I mean, some of that is still going on, and I oftentimes try to think like, well, if the good guys were totally controlled, then why? And I don't know exactly how that dynamic works. I don't think in a second that we're not going to win, but we have casualties of war, and I think thinking about it that way has been the best way for me to wrap my mind around it. Like, it's not there was never going to be casualties, right? There always was. But are we going to have casualties here like we see in the movie Civil War, or we see in real life in Kosovo and other places over in Ukraine, right? No, but I think that's what we're trying to avoid. And I think that the stuff that we see that's horrible, children being trafficked and the crime, et cetera, that was intentionally fostered and allowed to happen. And that's why all the crime rates have gone up. It's intentional. But, there was always going to be, and I think that's the hard part, because we wonder, like, why haven't we fixed everything? And this gets back to where that's above my pay grade. It hurts my brain to think about.
There's a way.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, tell me.
Well, I'm stealing this, but the guys that are coming on tomorrow have helped me expand my mind, my thought process. And there is a term for it that they use, which is acceptable losses. And I think that there's a very logical way to explain that. And that would be that, if you believed the reason for any war we may have gone through in the past, which most of them are lies. However, the reasons that we as Americans accepted them was because that we were going to put lives at risk for our freedom, right? For the ultimate goal that our country, the ultimate thing that our country stands for, our Constitution and everything else. So if we're willing to, let our children sign up to go put their lives on the line for freedom, for America, for our republic, then it shouldn't be, I know it's difficult emotionally, but it shouldn't be completely outlandish to understand the concept of acceptable losses. If there's an ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's no war I always look back to the term called war is hell, right? And that was coined for a reason, because even though history is much filled with more than not, war has always proven to be hell. And every movie we've seen that's a good war movie depicts hell, right? And then hopefully the human spirit overcoming it. But to discount the fact that there was always going to be casualties, to me, it's like that's one of the reasons we see movies like Civil War, right? I mean, we want people to see how bad it would be, and I don't care that if it has MAGA type people holed up in their towns across America, because that would be exactly what would happen. Let's be honest, right? But I think this is about showing people what we don't want, right? We don't want a post-apocalyptic hellhole Book of Eli kind of stuff, where we're all, just scraping by in a survival mode. But, in order to avoid war, we had to go through some sort of turbulent event. And in this case, turns out to be a long one. For those involved, I mean, decades. I firmly believe that a lot of what we're seeing now is planned out after, as in response to JFK being assassinated. And so, yeah.
I want you to see the end of this, Aya.
Yeah, let's do it.
It gets really QE.
Yep. A wartime president. Awesome. Shivers.
Right.
Goosebumps.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I think at some point along this whole trip is one of the things we all fear, and I know that because it's the thing I feared, is being wrong about this, right? Being wrong about all of this, and man, knowing instead that we, for the most part, remained over the target and seeing the problem. Of course, we don't know how bad it is and the extent of things, but what a time to be alive, and know that this is coming to an head in some sense or fashion all around us in real time. And it's mind-blowing to me on a daily basis. And then I see him smile like that, and I see what he reposts and retruths, and Scavino, and the human barometer aspect of it. And I'm like, I couldn't be more proud, even in light of the casualties we take and the problems we have, because those were always going to happen. But I'll tell you what, being part of this, whatever the hell this is awesome. And I can personally say that it's, I've sacrificed a lot. I'm not going to go myself, but personally, yeah. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm at this point, right? We're already this far in it. We're going to ride this son of a bitch out.
Amen. Can you see the screen right now?
Yeah.
Did you see this one?
Yeah, I haven't seen. Oh no.
Donald Trump retruth this yesterday. Do you see what's in this upper left-hand corner?
Yeah, I said, post. Do it, Q. There you go. I didn't see that. Yes, that's great.
Truth in his wife's eyes. Truth in his wife's eyes. Do it, Q. Popcorn and Pepe meme.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, it's just everything. It's the 5x5, right? It's a thumbs up. Everything's green.
It's not done. He did this too.
God bless America, and gentlemen, start your.
That's great.
You got to be kidding me. That's all out of
it's like walkout music for a batter in a major league game, and they play their song. Well, so guys, ever think back to the KPAT. You have what is real and what isn't. Trump loves the KFAB. He loves the WWE, Vince being one of his buddies. And when he did the whole routine, when he's out there wrestling and the pageantry of it all, the showmanship of it, he loves that stuff. He always has. And so when you watch him do clips like this and think, he is playing into that part. We are cheering for the good guy, in fact. Builds everybody up in the crowd. Get everyone, we want to be in on the fight. I mean, it's beautiful and it's fun, and and the most amazing thing is it's not just pretend wrestling. This is for real.
So the other thing that got me really excited this weekend, Ao, to go right along with what you're talking about. Have you happened to catch anything that's going on the Fourth PSYOP Group's Instagram channel?
Well, I saw they just posted. I thought it was a short video. Was it the 20-some second? And then there was a 30-second one. So are there two, or is it the same clip?
So I want to cover more than just the thing. Okay, so there was one that happened at 5 a.m. this morning while you were asleep. So that's this one. Let's take a look at this quick.
Okay, let's do it.
There are many people in the world who really don't understand. When power corrupts, poetry cleanses. We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda. It is a form of truth.
Wow. Awesome.
All right. Yeah, that was this morning at 5:30 a.m. And these other two are in the last 48 hours. So here's another one.
Oh, so there's three now. Okay. Yeah, shoot.
And I see the shadow of my profile on the wall.
You've got to get a hold of yourself.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, right there. Time.
Just like
Mickey
the drop.
Mouse hands. Yeah.
Right. The Mickey Mouse hands. This is ridiculous. And this is happening at the same time as Donald Trump's posting Q memes on his True Social page.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you get to the point where it's funny. We all, a lot of us laugh. A lot of you guys know on the backside, just laugh. It's so ridiculous in some levels, that keep nodding to it, to where it's like, it can't not be from a mathematical standpoint, right? We always talk about improbability.
The voice of JFK, no less. He's right. Your boy Death is right. That was JFK's voice.
Yeah.
So here's the third one, and then I want to show one or two others that I don't think anyone else touched on. So these ones everybody's talking about.
Okay.
So here's the one that first was, it's like their fifth or sixth, to be honest, at this point of amazing videos. There's one that said stand by, 17 seconds long. I can find it if everybody wants to see it, but this is the most three. Check this out.
Psychologists find that control of emotions can be gained by understanding the stimulus-response pattern. Many everyday things become associated with these primary stimuli, partly by a process called conditioning.
You know what? I like that idea.
I mean, this is the thing. See these three here? I wrote a thread on this recently, AO. I'd love to get your opinion on.
Yeah, I remember it.
You know what I'm talking about? So why is it all of a sudden? Look, we know that Donald Trump has spotlighted and highlighted and talked about General Patton. He's talked about real generals and TV generals. General Patton, the beginning of his movie was literally used up on screen at his rallies.
Right.
Well, what's General Patton most famous for? That would be his Ghost Army. And this is on the Fourth PSYOP page. And they are doing nothing but recognizing the Ghost Army. Well, in my thread, I paralleled what I believe to be Ghost 46. And that's why on his hat it says 45-47.
Do
you think that I'm completely look, I post fearlessly. I don't care what I see, I post. If I think it's the truth. Look at this. Look who's all in this photo with two of the last members of the Ghost Army.
Right. Well, the fact that it's brought up at all to begin with, highlighted, And I I've been watching. I recently watched some guys because I've gone back and watched a few of their original posts, and they had some operators, some real world operators at this time that were, and I mean by that like a SEAL team kind of guys, Green Berets, whatever, that went over the War piece, the previous one that they did with the guy conducting, right? And we're kind of laughing because they're talking about that. Yeah, real War stuff isn't as interesting as it looks. It's not like the front line of the spear guys. This is more of the War, which is important. And it occurs to me that the War aspect, the element that got us into where Normandy was allowed to happen, right? And of course, we're talking about history, so history is a bunch of lies. But the general idea that we could misdirect the enemy using inflatable tanks, right? But the fact is now it's so much more sophisticated because we're not just dealing with putting inflatable tanks out and putting speakers to make sounds like tanks so they fool people on the ground. The main battlefront going on around us has to be the digital one. And more than ever, psychological warfare has to be, this is the premier way by which this is being waged from both directions, right? Did I lose you? Joe?
Yeah, that was my fault. That wasn't you.
Okay.
I mute myself so it doesn't echo when I play the sound. That was my bad.
Oh, yeah.
So you've looked through some of this page and seen some of the older stuff, right? If you listen to the words of some of the music they put with it, I think everything on this page is messaging of some sort, whether it's playing with the cartoon narrative to get people to follow a certain narrative, or they're in a cryptic way telling you what's happening. I'm not sure. All I know is it's very, very interesting. Let me play. I'm gonna play a couple. I think this one's a good one. Okay, that's not the one I thought it was, but still.
What was the name of that song? Did anybody figure that out yet?
I should figure it out. I did not, because I stumbled across ones that blew my mind. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I just like sometimes to look those up, and you can get the song pulled down from like a Kaboom or something, and then look at the lyrics.
There was some. I mean, so this was their second video, I think.
Yes.
Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter. Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what life is like on Jupiter and Mars.
Yeah.
For me, bro, it's the timing. Like, why would they be putting this stuff out?
Well, it's amazing. We've been lied to our whole lives. So we've been victims of the biggest, largest, most encompassing psyop in history. Because of psyop is, I always try to think about how to best say it. It's a battle of narratives, right? Boom. And so Q himself, the Q drops were a psyop, a good one. Because of course they're done by the good guys, the white hats, and the bads. And so I'd like everyone to think when it's pushed out that the idea that all psyop are bad. PSYOP guys apparently don't like when you use plural because it's operations is already plural, so PSYOPs. But anyway, I digress. The point being that of course we know there are good forces of good that are using this the same way that forces of good misdirected the Germans into allowing us to attack what we did in Normandy somewhat by surprise. And so a lot of that is in play here. Yes, there are negative psyops, but if you don't think that our own guys are employing them, then you're just not thinking through, because it doesn't make any sense not to see things for what they are. Right? These are white hats. These are the white hats speaking to us, in my opinion, and they're cluing us in on these videos. I mean, what other conclusion do you come to, Joe? I think he's muted again.
Sorry, I'm hoping you can keep going for a second because I'm looking for.
Oh yeah.
That
Can I pontificate? Wax poetic?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm looking for one. Went through all this morning at 7 a.m. after 3 hours of sleep, and there were a few that I was like, "What the hell? How has no one talked about this yet?"
Yeah, there were ones I hadn't seen yet, but
well, here's one. Here's the 17-second one. So check this one out. I mean, I know it's nothing that tells you anything. That's really weird, bro.
Yeah, and it's how many times does this have to happen? Right.
That's weird. Maybe you're going to be the one that saves me. Like, I know we don't like to put that message.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting for anyone to be saved. However, that is a really weird video.
Yeah. That touches back on what I mentioned earlier. Didn't really flesh out, but the simple part is that no one, and I mean no one, involved in any of this thinks that we don't have to like continue pushing and pulling and prodding and amplifying, like to argue that we should all sit back on our laurels and just wait is ludicrous, right? Of course we shouldn't. But that gets back into where kind of where we see things headed, and I'm an optimist. I believe God wins. I do see, when I watch these, I do see messages that are in there. And I'll be honest with you, dude, I think a lot of this stuff we're going to find more and more of those Easter eggs like we do now after the fact.
And that's what that's what John and Paul that's what I think they believe. Oh no, we lost AO. That wasn't me. He disappeared. That happens sometimes when somebody calls him. So I'll bet he pops up here in just a second. Look, if anybody isn't aware, I can't find it because there's a lot of posts. But there was one I really wish that I would have saved. I forgot because I got sidetracked. There's one that goes through coins that literally talks. Ayo, your camera's up. I'm gonna wait until you put your emoji because I don't want to dox. Yeah. So as soon as your emoji goes up, I'll put you back up on screen. I hope you can hear me. If you guys aren't aware, go to this page and go through all these posts. I don't know what they are. All I know is somebody's telling us something. Ayo, I don't see your face, so I'm gonna. Can you hear me?
No. I got it. Hold on a second here.
Okay. There's so many on here. I wish I could find the one I'm looking for. Look, Cywar and 13th Street happens a lot. I went to the Q drop that is number 13. It's very interesting. Let's play this one. This is the original. Everybody's seen this. But let's play it while we wait for AO to get his avatar back up.
In the front line, Cywar works against the enemy's morale, to make him suspicious of his officer, and to cause him to worry about the conditions back home. In the front line,
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last goodnight while I get
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy. The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind. It is words and ideas. Ammunition used by Psywar. Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
Is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
Oh, right there. Love it.
These are the Psywar soldiers.
Wow. Yeah, my avatar doesn't seem to be showing up, but you get what you get.
That's okay. I'd rather lose your
Whenever you
avatar.
get texted or called on the app on the StreamYard, so
Well, we're gonna remind everybody who you are here at the end. I got a surprise for you. I don't think you heard me say
oh
it.
no. Oh,
Well, it's not a huge deal. I'm actually gonna do it for both you and me today. So
okay.
my work helped me out with something, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I think it's a great promotion thing. Let's do this
Right.
first and foremost. So we're getting close to rounding out 2 hours. AO. That's usually where I like to cut it off.
Wow.
So,
Wow,
yeah,
2
I know,
hours
right?
goes by fast.
Especially when you're having fun hanging out with one of your besties, bro.
Right. I'm still wiping sleep out of my eyes, so
Well, I start to have kids that come in around 3. So, can you first and foremost tell everybody where they can find you, what you might have going on, anything at all you want to promote?
yeah, well, the easiest way, if you like I just offer my opinion, and my opinion isn't for everybody, and the people that I tend to hang around promote tend similar opinions to me, but I mean, in that case, at Awakened Outlaw on X, that's the primary means. I have through social, I'm at Awakened Outlaw too, and I have a Telegram account that uses just to, I'm trying to get things that I like to say out to more like you are. We use different platforms. And as I mentioned, there's some and if you're on some of the other platforms that I do, Parlor and others that I just don't, I'm sorry, I just don't have time. And I think that we all know how that works. But at Awakened Outlaw is the best way. And I'm excited. All I ever do is offer my perspective on what I see going down. And if that rubs you the wrong way, then you're welcome to find other people, right? Tune into a different station, so to speak. But I'm in this with you, buddy, because I don't want my children and my great grandchildren down the line when they exist, if they exist, to not have to grow up in this crap show that we've all been subjected to, right? That's it. I would do anything and everything to make their world better. You know, that we did what we could in our time and the burdens that we took on and the things that we suffered through. And there has been a lot of suffering, you know, just to do our part in helping, raise awareness and amplifying the truth.
I couldn't agree more. Well, look, everybody hang out through this part because I'm going to do a giveaway here at the end. But I do want to say we have some amazing shows coming up. You guys have heard me reference John and Paul. They'll be out here tomorrow. On Wednesday, I am super excited. This will be the first time I get to hang out with Grasshopper. He's been, pivotal as far as decoding is concerned. The dude's really cool. I don't know him personally yet, but I hope that we all get to know him personally on Wednesday. That's going to be a blast. And then Kaidi, Defender of the Republic, right? You guys all know her. She is.
Who's got more passion than her? She loves what she does.
Dude, I'm so jealous. How does she have so much time to go to so many events and meet so many people?
Oh, she does some of her own swag things and all, but I mean, everyone has different abilities or bandwidth and whatever, but it's really amazing when you see people pour their heart and soul into something that they believe that it becomes their life. I think for a lot of us, irregardless if we have shows like you do, this has become our lives.
Yeah.
And damn straight, right? We wouldn't be part of the solution if we just allowed everybody else to take it and handle it for us, right? Whatever it takes, whatever amount of time. I mean, does it matter to you? What wouldn't you sacrifice for your own?
That's legitimately why I jumped in, because I was like, all these amazing people I look up to are doing such amazing things. And I'm sitting here watching. I started to get mad. So I started to get involved locally, started to get involved in school board meetings. We started to get involved with local elections. And I'm like, you know what? That's not enough. So I started to get involved in social media, and amazing guys like you supported me. And now I'm at this really cool point where now I'm trying to build a podcast platform so that we can get all you guys on here to give your experience and what it is that you think is important to move the sticks forward in a positive way. I love this. I hope that everyone in the chat finds motivation. Look, I'm not going to speak for AO. I'll just speak for myself, but maybe you can speak on this, AO. I'm just a dude that struggled to survive for so many years. I went through drug addiction and all of those things. I lost my kid, and now we're in this war now to get my son back. And somewhere in there where my dad passed away and he told everybody to go vote for Donald Trump, I found a meaning in life, a purpose. And I've gone out here and tried to do my part as one of the collective we talked about earlier to help move the sticks forward in a positive way. And I hope that everyone out here finds motivation in that.
Right. So I love that. I love that passion, man.
Bro,
people in the audience that agree with us feel it as well. You can feel his words, right? Tell people sometimes, your words have iron and that passion and that we're here. And it's like how we got here doesn't really matter, right? I mean, I like I said, I've suffered a lot. I'm not going to talk about my journey, but I can tell you I've suffered, and I can tell you a lot of people have suffered. And as somebody that's been in the addiction community for a long time, the amount of devastation that was wrought on us. I mean, just from a standpoint of marriages, relationships, etc., from the pandemic. But tactical nukes were dropped into the different communities of people that are fighting addictions because they shut everything down. And of course, that was intentional, right? But the amount of wreckage that was caused from that. But you know what? Even then, we're coming back around, right? We got our feet back under us, so to speak, and we're doing what we can to affect change. And when we're operating off that fuel of doing it for the right reasons and having love in your heart and compassion, and I say that for people like us, I'm done having compassion personally with people who hurt children, people that have, I just, God can sort that out, as they say.
Have
But
you ever
man,
heard this? Ao, have you ever heard this? So there's two things that I realized through prayer and meditation. First of all, it's been my experience that people that go through addiction, whether it be drug addiction or alcohol addiction or whatever it might be, they seem to have a slightly, maybe it's not, maybe it's because they didn't go through the full collegiate indoctrination process. Maybe it's because they lived hard lives and there was streets involved and certain lessons in life that somebody that went through stuff like that might have experienced, where somebody that did all the right things and followed the rules and went through. I'm not knocking anyone that did, but what I'm getting at is, it seems to me that there's a much more freer thought process, which is, like I said earlier, something I think is imperative and what I encourage from people that have lived that sort of life. And when you really go back and dig on it, 3-letter agencies and trading drugs for guns for drugs and flooding the streets with drugs, trading the Contras, you can go down that whole rabbit hole. It almost seems like that free thought process that was born because of it is kind of like, they didn't expect for that to happen. The same with autists. And if you talk about vaccines, if you believe, as a lot of us do, that vaccines had a lot to do with autism, well, some of the most brilliant minds in this movement are the autists, right? Some of the most brilliant anons there are. It's almost like they didn't expect that result, and we're using their weapons against them. Does that make any sense? Because I love that
yeah,
idea.
well, you think about, and of course there are movies where we end up winning, right? And by we, I mean humanity. So Independence Day, all these movies on down, we end up like the human spirit finds a way to, turn their weapons against them, right? And then we overcome. And so, that story is often told. And I think we're seeing it play out in real time here, all around us. And we want to cheer for it. And I would think that the White Hats want us to cheer for it, because they want us to own part of our own salvation, our own victory. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, why wouldn't you want people to own it? Which is also why I think the coming election is huge. I mean, put aside the fact that how many times, if you're a Trump supporter and Trump continues to have rallies and talk to us about how important voting is in November, why the hell would you not vote in November or whenever the elections, right? Does that make any sense whatsoever? No, I mean, I asked that rhetorically because it's prima facie, right? We know what it is. We know this moment we're in. We know inherently how important it is. So I just, it's a kumbaya kind of thing, but you know what? I absolutely believe it. Really absolutely in my core.
Well, let me say thank you. American Patriot, 1776, gifted a $5 Rumble rant. You have no idea how much I appreciate the support. And there's a recent one. Where we go one, we go all. 45 goes 47. $1 Rumble rant from MAGA Collection. Thank you very, very much for supporting the show. There is still 330 or so people watching on Rumble and 74 likes. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, this is the one thing I'll say please hit that thumb up on Rumble, on YouTube, same thing on Twitter. It means the world to me. Now, Ao, this is where we come to the part where I want to give something away. And I'm going to
do your thing.
Well, no, because I want you to be part of it. Can you see the chat?
Yeah. No, I can't see the chat. I'm on my phone. So it's
okay. All right. Well, then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell everybody to put I don't know, let's do a 5x5. Throw a 5x5 in the chat, and then we're going to let it go for a second. And Ao, after a minute, don't give it to me yet. I want you to give me 2 different numbers. And whoever the numbers are, the people that wrote 5x5 in the chat, I'm going to give away 1 bag of your coffee, and I'm going to give away 1 bag of mine.
I don't even know where my coffee is. I know that we did this kind of as a group and have it, but I actually haven't ever even promoted it yet.
Well, somebody's going to get one now. So
yeah, it's just
Patrick of Kegistan already got a bag, so he wrote 4x4.
Yeah.
He already won one time, so he knows I wasn't
0.05 by 0.05. Less
all
than
right,
1.
So now everybody's throwing 5x5s in the chat. I need you to give me 2 numbers, Ao.
All right, 2
Okay, number 2. All right.
and 7.
Well, 2, I have to go way back up. So V Darkness was number 1. So Maria Weil, hold on, let me write this down.
V Dark is in the house. Nice.
Darkness, love that dude. Just on the phone with him yesterday.
Prayers out for him and his family. I don't know if you guys all know, but their family's been navigating some pretty tough waters with their youngest child, Salias, and so he's doing great. If you guys get to see his pictures, he's the chubbiest, happiest baby you've ever seen. But some prayers their way would always be appreciated.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, V Darkness is an absolute legend. I'm hoping to work with him more here shortly. I was talking to him yesterday about some stuff that we're going to do to try to continue building this platform.
And he's one of, there's many of us that don't, I lucked out and got some of my accounts back, but like there's so many threads that like Enoch has, that V Dark has, that are still trapped in their old accounts. Excuse me. That are, so those threads and posts are still there. If and when, and I believe in my heart that they'll come back, but when we can revisit those and then archive those better, so this never happens again.
All right, I was busy writing down Maria Weil's name. First of all, Maria, if I don't already follow you on Twitter or Telegram or True Social, write something in the hard comments or get my attention in the comments of anything that I post. And let me know where we can talk on DMs. And for anybody, whoever's the next one to win, you have to give me an address that I can send it to. I don't, if you guess Patrick of Kekistan, I throw it out. I don't care about the address. I'm just trying to promote the coffee. So it's going to be something we talk about on back channels. So just get a hold of me if we don't talk already. Maria, I see you're watching on YouTube. So feel free to leave a comment on there where we can talk where it's private, and I will be happy to. The first one's going to be AOS, and the second one's going to be Rambo Roast. So what was the second number, AO?
7.
So we're at 2 with Maria. I'm skipping Patrick. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is Josie Wales.
Right on.
I know.
Yeah, Josie Wales is awesome.
I know. I've been talking to that account on Twitter. So
yeah.
Josie, you got the Rambo.
My brother from another mother.
Yep. So Josie Wales, you got awesome. The Rambo roast. So Maria, you're getting AOs, and Josie Wales.
I think because I like coffee. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but roasted coffee has more caffeine, and since that's the primary reason by which I inhale coffee, it's for that reason. So yeah, something I learned. I didn't know that it was lighter roast. Anyway, I digress.
And Alan Toman just became a monthly supporter. You guys with the Red Castles, you have no idea. It's probably the one thing I'm most grateful for. AO, just so you're aware, when somebody buys a Red Castle, it's typically $5, but they basically sign up to give that every month. So that's like the one way that's going to continue to allow me to do it. So,
well, it would be nice. I know at some point you'd rather be full time. Being a patriot, doing the on stuff, than having to do that. But it is like everybody else. We have to survive and get by. I've personally lost everything a few times in my life. This last, being one of them. That's the sacrifices we all give, man. I mean, and then we have to, in the interim, we have to figure out how to do what we do. And some people have more bandwidth on that than others, right? Some people have less problems than others have. But you know what? It's like anything. We win together or not at all. Like we lock arms and dig in our heels and say we've had enough or not at all. I mean, to me, this is easy, right? Good, bad. Which side are you on?
I think that it brings me full circle back to my point when we were talking about financial stuff in the middle. Look, I work really, really hard to do this, but I have to do it on what is very little spare time. If I could get out of going and burning trash for a living to make electricity, I would absolutely put everything I had, all waking hours that weren't family delegated to this show and getting people on here and researching. I think that's how we fight the deep state.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's an insane thought. And I'm not the only one. I look in the chat. There's 100 people in here I know that would dedicate their lives to this if they were able. And that's
Well, and so isn't the fake news media is subsidized with our tax dollars for sure, but they're the mouthpieces of the deep state. So the antithesis of that, the solution, if you will, are individual journalists. Horatio Alger journalists, basically, actually just people standing up and saying, I've had enough. To hell with this. I have to raise my voice, right, over the collective den of the media that's used to suppress our what we hold dear, Christianity, family, and all these things, and push their crap agenda on us. Well, the answer to that is us, more of us, and then some more, add more, right? And then effectively over time, we just replace the media with ourselves, as it should have always been.
As it should have always been. Digital soldiers, independent journalism. I think that's what we're all out here trying to do collectively. So I thank everybody for their support. Ayo, it is always an absolute pleasure to hang out with you, bro.
Oh, dude, I am so glad I just got up just in time to check and say, I got a half an hour, make some coffee, jump on with you, full agenda, and then it just happens, and next thing it's hours later.
And what a really cool conversation we always end up having. Thank you, dude.
Love you, man. Hey, I appreciate all you guys out there. I mean, if you guys have, let's chat. I mean, I get a lot of DMs. Everyone's welcome. Let's talk. If there's things that you think I need to see to help, maybe I could help promote. I'm all for that, man. All I care about is we get the truth out to the most people. Wherever that goes in whatever shape it takes, right? Because that changes, right? That evolves. None of us knows for sure exactly what's happening. Anyone says they do is full of shit, right? Best we can do is try to figure this out as it plays out in front of us, based on things we've learned in the past. and it's the collective of that expands. As I said before, I think it's a voluntary, crowdsourced intelligence apparatus, right? of some magnitude. But it's the Gasalds, that the sum of our parts is greater. I always get that backwards. You know what I'm saying? The sum of our parts is greater.
I think I have the answer to this already, because I'm going to say that your coffee blend, but somebody specifically asked, boom, there it is. Heidi Erickson asked, how can we support you, AO?
You know what? I don't. This sounds ridiculous because I should know, but I don't. But this is the truth, because there's no rhyme or reason, right? I battle my own monsters and anxiety and things from my past on my end. But when you say how you can support me, I guess people I know did the coffee, so I guess we have that.
Yes.
But otherwise, I don't really know. Actually, I don't have like a place to send anybody. I probably should know that, but I don't.
But I know that the coffee, I know. I mean, I know everybody involved with the coffee. So if you buy the Awaken,
I should probably learn more about that, don't you think?
Yes, you should, because you have a huge account, and I think that it supports all of us. So if you don't, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting everybody else that's involved.
Yeah, and this gets back into some of the crap we talked about earlier. But the thing is, too, is I have a big heart, and so I wear that on my sleeve, and I get tired of the BS. But I alluded to this earlier about this last weekend, but I've really more dedicated than I am now to just like to hell with them. I'm done. I'm done with the deep state. I'm done with minions pushing deep state narrative. I'm done. Right? No power over me. Right? Can't make me into something I'm not. They can't change you into something you're not. People can't try to. Our enemy wants us to stop doing what we're doing. You and me and the other people listening. Right?
Yep.
Don't do what the enemy wants. Fuck them. Do your worst, because we're just going to keep going. Is there anything that's going to stop you, Joe? Anything?
Maybe my girl.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Putting aside actual women that can have babies, because they have a lot more power than you think. But yes, yeah, there ain't shit to stop me. I look at this through my son and my family and my niece's eyes, right? there ain't nothing going to stop me. And if they stop any one of us, the other people just pick up the flag and continue running, right? So I think we're in the stretch run to this, whatever that means. But I'm here for it. So if you guys are here for it, man, let's see this thing through. Be positive as we can be. Help promote each one another. Keep ourselves up. Keep pressing the truth. And you know what? God willing, we win this son of a bitch.
You know,
how's that sound?
You just made that. It sounds brilliant. I think I love talking to you for exactly that reason. You made me think of a real reason, though. Right? I joked about
Okay.
but honestly, the one thing that if I could ask, and this probably won't be the last time I do this week, but next week is my mom's criminal trial for abusing my son. So I could use all the prayers I could get, to be honest. I don't think that my son has to go back on the stand. I may personally have to. I think they're going to try to stay away from it, but I might have to. They have 5 days, all of next week allotted for it. It is a criminal trial, and she asked for a jury. So that does start next Monday. So
you might want to. You wrote a thread about all that before, and your son. You might want to repost that. I'll bump it if you do. And you guys, if anybody's still listening, the Remainders, if you guys could take a read if you're not familiar with with what Joe's been through. But his story of redemption is pretty amazing, you know, and I think it's a lot of our stories of redemption. I believe a lot of us have gone through personal battles that kind of mimic what we're going through together. You know, we're stronger for it. In fact, it's a strength. As people that battle addictions, our addictions and the hell we went through are our strengths. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise, right? We've been to hell. That's why I always laugh. People that go to meetings in the bottom of churches, you know, people upstairs talking, they're afraid to go in hell. People downstairs, they've been there.
Yeah, we already been there. That's for sure.
Yep. Right on. Love you, man.
Somebody said that I should. So the only reason I haven't posted that again is because there was a Give, Send, Go attached to it. And between JF Non and LT and UAO and everybody that Mary Flynn, so many people came together to support me on that, which is why I haven't posted it again, because up to this point, everything financially is covered. Thank you to the movement. Thank you to all you that posted and reposted and supported. So that's why I haven't.
That was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing,
bro. It was. I don't even want to talk about it. I'm gonna start crying. It was quite possibly the most moving moment in my entire life. My son was brought down to and shown the whole thing. Look, Mary Flynn, bro, LT. I can go on and on. I will never be able to say thank you to JF for what he did.
Right.
And that goes across the board for everybody. But so far we've made it financially since then. So I'm hoping that it's not much longer and we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I am a little bit, back into credit cards and stuff like that, taking care of it. So who knows? Maybe there'll come a time when I might have to do it again, but I hope not. But I can write the story for people that don't know it. I can do it that way.
Well, all any of us can do is the next right thing, right? I like to talk about that. And we're all humans, and we all make what's the next right thing I can do, right? And I'm going to try to do that, rinse and repeat more of that. I was like, I told you, I'm simple. More of what works, less of what doesn't. My life has been me doing the stuff that doesn't work and me trying to keep doing the stuff that doesn't work, right? See Einstein, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so this blossoming of the Great Awakening to me is a reflection of my own personal growth that I'm sharing with others, and you guys are sharing it with me too. We're all just figuring this out on the fly as we go. And turns out we're pretty good at it, even when we don't know what the hell we're doing.
We are, right? Together, we are really good at this.
Yeah, whatever this is. That's why I always laugh. Like I don't even know how do you explain it.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right,
but everybody knows they get it, right? We all shake our head like, yeah, it's bigger. This is bigger than we can even possibly imagine, right? We know that's true. So what a ride, buddy. Wouldn't want to be here with anybody else but all y'all.
I couldn't agree more. Well, bro, You're always going to be a legend in my eyes. I do
Well,
feel
dude,
that when I hang out with you, you do have an air about you that makes everybody that hangs out with you think that they're your best friend. So I appreciate my time with you because I feel the exact same way as I know many people do. That we're like,
well,
we've
that's
been,
far too
we've
kind,
been
but I
friends since
appreciate
we were
that.
kids.
Yeah. Well, I all I know is I have to. It works both ways. It's it doesn't. It's not a one-way street. I have to be around my people in the same way, right? You guys, I'm one of your people. We're together, man. It's that camaraderie that I feed off of myself, because without that, if I was out here alone, and you guys all know what I'm talking about, if you were out here doing this and you had to be in an isolated place by yourself and not interacting with other people of a similar mindset, they're hungry for information, we all would have given up a long time ago, right? Nobody can fight these battles. Where we go one, we go all. I mean, there's a reason why that has been a theme through all of this, right? It's not bullshit. It's just the truth.
100%, bro.
All right, man. Love
You're
y'all.
the best, bro. I'm gonna drop you down. I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody and bounce out of here. I got one more big
Okay.
thank you to do, but
All right.
you're the best. I hope we do it again sometime soon, maybe next month.
Yeah, let's do it soon. We'll talk.
All right, cool.
All right, buddy.
Love you,
Bye.
bro. Bye. I gotta tell you, I know it got sentimental at the end, but it always is for me when AO's on. He was one of the first people to support me when it came to this movie. One of. He wasn't the first. He was right there though, and he was right there right away, and he has been unwavering in his support, not only for me but many, many, many people in the movement. If you're trying to do something, that is one hell of a good dude to link up with. I absolutely love him, and that goes for every single one of you that are out here in the chat. Josie Wales, I saw you. I'm supposed to be giving you something today, and you turn right around and give the $50 Rumble rant to the movement. Thank you. I don't know how to say thank you when it comes to big things like that. That means the world. So you guys are all awesome. I will see you here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, where we do this all again with two of the most expanded minds in the movement, and JF Non Smart Paul. You've heard me reference them all day today because they've been such an influence in my life. I can't wait to do this. I'm sure there's a great show in store. So we will see you guys all on the flip side tomorrow. Please, last time I'll ask on the way out, just hit that thumbs up on whatever platform it is that you are hanging out on, and we will see you tomorrow. With that being said, much love. Peace.